The love you take is equal to the love you make. We've all heard this beautiful Beatles lyric. But what if I told you that for children of narcissistic parents, this equation has been weaponized against you? What if you've been programmed to believe that love is something you must constantly earn, never something you inherently deserve? If you just felt a wave of recognition wash over you, it means your emotional operating system was hacked in childhood. Carl Jung discovered something about this programming that will both devastate and liberate you. The truth is, you weren't taught love, you were taught transaction. And now I'm going to show you how to rewrite that equation forever. And it doesn't stop there. You've become a human vending machine, dispensing love coins every time someone presses your buttons. You give your energy, your time, your very soul, hoping that maybe, just maybe, you'll receive even a fraction of what you pour out. You're like a well that everyone drinks from, but no one ever refills. People come to you when they're thirsty for attention, validation, or emotional labor. They take what they need, walk away satisfied, and you're left empty, wondering why you feel so depleted. You've learned to love like you're hemorrhaging, constantly pouring yourself out because you believe your worth is measured by how much you can. You're emotionally bleeding all over everyone, hoping someone will notice the wound and finally bandage it with the love you've been starving for. But here's what's really happening. You're operating from a love equation that was rigged from the start. While other children learned that love is their birthright, you learned that love is a paycheck you must earn through perfect behavior, endless giving, and complete self-sacrifice. You've become an emotional chameleon, constantly changing colors to match what others need from you. Happy when they need happy, invisible when they need space, strong when they need support. You're exhausted because you're not living your life. You're performing someone else's version of what you should be. You're like a human Swiss Army knife. Whatever tool others need, you transform yourself to become it. Need a therapist? You become their unpaid counselor. Need a cheerleader? You bury your own struggles to celebrate theirs. Need a scapegoat? You absorb their anger like an emotional sponge. Here's what Carl Jung saw that cuts even deeper. You don't just give love desperately. You've been conditioned to feel guilty for wanting it back. You feel selfish when you need comfort. You feel demanding when you ask for support. You feel greedy when you want someone to care about your problems as much as you care about theirs. This isn't sensitivity. This is programming. You're like a plant that's been trained to photosynthesize in reverse, giving oxygen to everyone around you while slowly suffocating yourself. You've learned to nourish others with your life force, while your own roots shrivel in emotional drought. The cruelest part? You've been taught that this slow suicide is virtue, that disappearing yourself to make others comfortable is love. That setting yourself on fire to keep others warm is sacrifice, not self-destruction. You live in constant fear that if people see your real needs, your real pain, your real humanity, they'll abandon you. So you wear a mask made of other people's comfort, built from their expectations, painted with their version of who you should be. Carl Jung understood that this isn't just low self-esteem. This is systematic soul murder. Your authentic self was buried alive under layers of performance, and you've been attending its funeral every day by giving pieces of yourself away. You're like a smartphone with a cracked screen, still functional, still giving what others need, but damaged in ways that make it painful to touch. Every interaction reminds you of the cracks, but you keep working, keep giving, keep performing. Here's what Carl Jung discovered that 99% of therapists still don't understand. Narcissistic parents don't just withhold love. They reprogram the entire concept of love in their child's mind. They take the Beatles' beautiful message, "The love you take is equal to the love you make," and twist it into a psychological weapon. They make you believe that love is earned, not given. that you must prove your worth before receiving affection, that you're in constant debt to everyone around you. Jung called this the shadow of conditional love, where a child's natural capacity to receive love gets buried under layers of performance anxiety and people-pleasing compulsion. The narcissistic parent creates what Jung termed the transactional child, a human being who cannot conceive of love as a free gift. Think about this. Healthy children learn that love flows both ways naturally, like breathing. They give because they want to. They receive because they deserve to. But you learned that love is a bank account where you're always overdrawn, always owing, always trying to catch up to some impossible balance. You're like a person trying to swim upstream in a river of neediness. Everyone else's needs always flowing toward you, while your own needs get swept away in the current. You've become a human dam, holding back your own emotional floods to prevent anyone else from feeling inconvenienced by your humanity. The narcissistic parent's equation isn't the love you take equals the love you make. It's the love you might receive depends on how much you sacrifice your authentic self. That's not love. That's emotional slavery with a pretty bow on top. Jung discovered that this programming creates what he called the wounded giver, someone who gives compulsively not from abundance, but from desperate hunger. You give because you're starving for love, not because your cup is overflowing. You're like a person trying to water a garden with an empty watering can, wondering why nothing grows. The problem isn't your technique, it's that you've been giving from emptiness instead of fullness. The most insidious part? You attract people who smell this desperation, like sharks smell blood in water. You become a magnet for emotional vampires who recognize your wound and know exactly how to exploit it. But Carl Jung didn't just identify the problem, he found the solution. And it's not what you think. The answer isn't to stop giving love. The answer isn't to become selfish or build walls around your heart. The answer lies in what Jung called individuation, the process of reclaiming your authentic self from the programming that hijacked it. Jung understood that you must first learn to love yourself unconditionally before you can engage in healthy, reciprocal love with others. Not self-love as a transaction. I'll love myself if I accomplish this. But self-love as a birthright, as natural as breathing. If you're feeling like someone finally understands the depth of your struggle, you're not alone in this. There are thousands of people in this community who have walked this exact path from conditional love programming to authentic, reciprocal relationships. If this resonates deeply with your experience, subscribing to this channel isn't just supporting content. You're joining a family of people committed to breaking generational cycles of emotional dysfunction. This is how we create the healing community that we never had as children. If that speaks to your heart, hit the subscribe button. Now here's how Carl Jung approached healing this wound, and it's revolutionary. Jung believed that the path to healthy love begins with what he called shadow integration. Your shadow isn't evil. It's all the parts of yourself that you buried to survive your childhood. Your anger at being used, your resentment at giving more than you receive, your exhaustion from performing love instead of living it. Most people try to heal by giving even more, by being even more understanding, by sacrificing even more of themselves. Jung said this is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom, pointless and exhausting. Instead, Jung's approach works in 3 revolutionary stages that completely rewire your emotional operating system. Stage 1. Acknowledging that your current love equation is not love at all, but trauma repetition. Every time you give desperately hoping to receive, every time you perform affection hoping to earn it, every time you sacrifice yourself to prove your worth, you're not loving, you're reenacting your childhood wound. You're like an actor who's been playing the same tragic role for so long, you've forgotten it's just a performance. Jung's work helps you step off the stage and remember that you're not the character. You're the human being who deserves love without having to earn it through suffering. Stage 2. This is where Jung's work gets powerful. You must reclaim all the parts of yourself that you suppressed to be lovable. Your boundaries, your preferences, your right to say no, your anger when you're mistreated, your disappointment when others don't reciprocate. These aren't selfish traits. They're essential components of a whole human being capable of authentic love. Jung called this befriending your shadow, learning to love the parts of yourself that your narcissistic programming taught you were unacceptable. You're like a puzzle that's been missing half its pieces, trying to create a complete picture with what's left. Shadow integration means finding those buried pieces. Your authentic reactions, your genuine feelings, your natural boundaries, and putting yourself back together into wholeness. Stage 3. This is Jung's masterstroke. Once you've integrated your shadow, you can engage in what he called conscious love. Love given from choice, not compulsion. Love received as a gift, not a transaction. Love that flows both ways because both people are whole, not because both people are wounded. Jung discovered that people who heal this way don't become selfish. They become genuinely generous. They give from abundance, not desperation. They love because they choose to, not because they have to prove their worth. You transform from a leaky bucket, desperately trying to hold water, into a fountain that naturally overflows. The difference is revolutionary. One is always empty, always trying to be filled from outside. The other is connected to an internal source and naturally shares what it has. So how do you actually implement Jung's approach when every cell in your body has been programmed to give until you're empty? The daily reality check. Start each morning by asking yourself, what part of me am I hiding today to be lovable? Maybe it's your exhaustion from always saying yes. Maybe it's your disappointment that your friend never asks how you're doing. Maybe it's your anger that your partner takes your giving for granted. Don't judge these feelings. Welcome them. Jung said these emotions are messengers from your authentic self, trying to guide you back to wholeness. When you suppress them, you're literally rejecting parts of your own soul. The mirror exercise. Look at your relationships and ask, am I a mirror reflecting what others need? Or am I a person expressing who I am? If you're always adapting, always accommodating, always changing yourself to fit their comfort, you're mirroring, not relating. You've become like water, taking the shape of whatever container people pour you into. Jung's work teaches you to become like a diamond, beautiful, valuable, and unchanging regardless of the setting. The reciprocity reality check. Keep track for 1 week. In your relationships, does emotional labor flow both ways? Do people invest in understanding you as much as you invest in understanding them? Do they ask about your struggles, remember your goals, care about your feelings? If you're always the one calling, always the one remembering birthdays, always the one checking in, always the one accommodating, you're not in a love relationship, you're in a caretaking arrangement. You've become an emotional ATM. People come to you when they need something, but they don't stick around to make deposits. The love audit. Jung's most challenging exercise. Write down the last 5 times you gave love, energy, or attention to someone. Next to each one, write down why you gave it. If your reasons include fear, obligation, guilt, or proving your worth, you weren't loving, you were performing. Real love comes from, I want to, not, I have to. Theme. From this feels good, not, this might earn me acceptance. From, I choose this person, not, maybe if I give enough, they'll choose me. The guilt monster. When you start implementing Jung's approach, you'll feel guilty. Massively, overwhelmingly guilty. This is your wounded programming screaming because its survival strategy is being threatened. You'll feel selfish for having boundaries. You'll feel mean for saying no. You'll feel demanding for expecting reciprocity. Jung predicted this. He said the wounded child always interprets healthy behavior as selfishness because it was programmed to believe that its needs don't matter. That guilt is not your moral compass. It's your trauma talking. Real love doesn't require you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. The loneliness phase. When you stop being everyone's emotional vending machine, some people will drift away. This is terrifying but necessary. Jung called this the great sorting. The people who only valued you for what you gave will leave, making space for people who value you for who you are. You're like a garden pulling out weeds. It looks bare and empty at first, but it's making room for flowers that actually belong there. The loneliness is temporary. The authentic connections that follow are permanent. The magnetic shift. As you heal, something miraculous happens. You stop attracting emotional vampires because you're no longer bleeding the desperation they feed on. You start attracting people who are also whole, who also give from choice rather than compulsion. You become like a tuning fork vibrating at the frequency of healthy love. You naturally resonate with others who vibrate at the same frequency, and you naturally repel those who don't. Real-life transformation. Examples. Sarah applied Jung's approach with her demanding mother. Instead of automatically saying yes to every request, she started asking, "Is this coming from genuine need or from the expectation that I exist to serve her convenience?" When Sarah started saying no to convenient requests, but yes to genuine needs, her mother raged. But something beautiful happened. For the first time, her mother started appreciating the yeses because they were chosen, not automatic. Marcus recognized his pattern of dating people who needed fixing. Using Jung's shadow work, he saw this wasn't love. It was his childhood strategy for feeling needed and therefore worthy. When Marcus started dating from wholeness, sharing his own struggles, having boundaries, expecting reciprocal care, he initially felt selfish, but Jung knew this feeling would pass. The wounded child always thinks healthy behavior is selfishness. When you implement Jung's approach, the Beatles equation finally works as intended. The love you take becomes equal to the love you make, not because you're earning it through sacrifice, but because you're participating in it through wholeness. You stop being the person who gives 80% and receives 20%. You become the person who gives 100% of what they choose to give and receives 100% of what they're willing to accept. The math changes completely. Your new love operating system. Instead of "I must earn love through perfect behavior," "I am worthy of love simply by existing." Instead of "I must give more to receive anything," healthy love flows naturally both ways. Instead of "My needs are less important," "My needs matter as much as anyone's." Instead of "I must sacrifice myself to prove worth," "My worth is inherent, not earned." The generational impact. When you heal this pattern, you break the cycle for future generations. Your children learn love as birthright, not transaction. Your relationships model healthy reciprocity instead of codependent dysfunction. Jung called this the healing that moves backward and forward through time. Healing your wounded child also heals what was passed down to you and prevents passing it forward. The journey from transactional love to authentic love isn't easy, but it's the most important work you'll ever do. Jung said, when we heal our relationship with love, we heal our relationship with life itself. Share in the comments. How did you recognize your love transaction patterns? What's your first step toward Jung's integrated approach? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to begin their healing journey. This community grows through shared courage to tell the truth about our wounds. Remember, you weren't born to earn love through suffering. You were born to receive love as your birthright and give love as your choice. The love you take is equal to the love you make, but only when both flow from your authentic, integrated, beautifully whole self.